Okay, now that we have all of our note cards created and all of our sources cited, it is time to move on to the outline process. I have already created a video for you. It is under SharePoint under the screencast links document that I have pointed out to you guys already. One of the videos will show you how to add your outline onto NoodleTools. So I have already done that. So right now we're under our dashboard, which is pretty much our home base. I'm going to go over to the note cards tab. It's going to load up. It's going to bring up all my note cards. And like I said, I already have my outline already created because that's what I did the last time, or on the other video, video that I have on the screencast links document. So now what I'm going to show you guys how to do is how to create your final outline. So here are the steps that I want you guys to take for creating this final outline. I've got them all typed up here for you. Right here is what I want you to focus on for now. First, what you need to do is you need to read the note cards that you have, and you need to decide what subpoints you want to create in your outline. So what I mean by subpoints, I'm going to pull up my example of my final outline here. What I mean by subpoints, right now we should all have a scratch outline, which I'll actually show you first. This is what we should all have at this point. Something that looks a lot like this. We have our research question, we have our Roman numerals, and our headings. So now what we need to do is we need to create our subpoints. So what I mean by subpoints, here we have our Roman numerals and our headings, just like I just showed you on the scratch outline. This is what we all have at this point. Whoops. There they are. They look just like that. So now we need to create our subpoints, which are these right here. The A and B and C. And notice how I've got Title 9 for my A down here, down here. These are all subpoints, okay? So these are what we need to decide after we've read our note cards. But here's what you need to know about the subpoints. There need to be at least 2 subpoints per heading, okay? So in this one, I've got 3. I've got college athletics, high school sports. The difference here, I've got only Title 9. I've got equality, but that's fine because like I said, you need at least 2 subpoints per heading. And here's what else we need to know about that. There we go. Once we have created our subpoints, there need to be at least 2 note cards associated with that subpoint, all right? So what I mean by that, I'll pull up the final outline here. Notice how I have my note cards all on here. These are the titles of my note cards that I have created. And notice how each one is under each subpoint. So these 3 note cards are talking about high school sports. They're talking about the history of high school sports, whereas these 3 are talking about the history of college athletics. So I have 3 per subpoint up here, and I've got 4 here. There we go. I've only got 2 at the bottom here under professional level for effects of the laws. You need at least 2, okay? So so you need 2 or more note cards per subpoint, and you need to have at least 2 subpoints under each heading, okay? So now I'm going to go over to NoodleTools again. Oops, that is not what I'm looking at all. There we go. All right, NoodleTools. So I've got my scratch outline over here. Notice how I've already created some subpoints here, positive effects and negative effects. Everybody's subpoints are going to be different. It's going to depend on what you want to talk about in your paper. It's going to depend on the data that you have on your note cards, and it's going to depend on your topic, okay? So what you do after you have created your, put your outline on NoodleTools, and after you have created your subpoints like I have for this one here, I've got my heading, my Roman numeral 4, my heading is effects of Title 9, and I've got my 2 subpoints, positive effects and negative effects, okay? So once you have all that figured out, this part's real simple, guys. All you need to do is go to the note card that you're going to place under there, grab it, drag it over, and put it under whatever you're going to have it under. So in this one, I'm going to have it under positive effects, and there it appears. Notice how it's not only right here, but it's still over here, but now there is just a check mark telling me that I have it in my outline. Okay, so this one will go under positive effects as well. And then let's say that this one, however, goes under negative effects. There we go. Okay, so once we have our outline completely created, so once you have created, put the entire outline on NoodleTools, once you have created at least 2 subpoints per heading, and once you have at least 2 note cards under each subpoint, now we need to make sure that we get this printed, because this is something that I need to look at, and this is something that you need to have in front of you when it comes time to typing our actual paper. So as you can see, there's a print button on our outline here. Now, the unfortunate thing here is that we cannot just click this button. I wish it was that easy. Unfortunately, it is not, because when we try to print it, it prints out all funky, and we cannot have it looking like that. It needs to be in an organized manner that looks like this. So then what we need to do there is we just need to pull up our NoodleTools. I would suggest that you get your Word document up first. So I'm going to create a new document. You guys can either create a completely new document and start from scratch, or you can pull up your Scratch outline and just add onto it. What I'm going to do for this part is, I need to enable editing, sorry, there we go. I'm just going to use my Scratch outline because actually this is what I suggest that you guys all do. It's going to make it a lot easier on yourself, so why don't we just stick to revising our Scratch outline at this point. So I'm going to minimize my window so that I can see, oops, there we go. Okay, and I'll pull up my Scratch outline. Notice how it's right over NoodleTools right now. So there I'm able to see my Scratch outline on my Word document and my Scratch outline, or in this case, this will be your final outline. It should all look like this. I can see both, so it's going to be a lot easier for typing it. So then all I'm simply going to do is, we're using my effects of my laws as my example, so I'm going to click Enter. Notice how it creates a new Roman numeral for me, though. Oh, I got to move this up so you can see the full window. There we go. Notice how it creates a new Roman numeral. That's not what we need to do. We need to create a subpoint. So you have two options then. You can either click the Tab button, see, which creates the subheading. So you can just type in your, your positive effects, and then you'll press Enter again, and you'll click Tab again, and then it'll create the I there for you. So that's where you can put in your note cards. So there we go. That's how I'm doing it here. Oops, not very good at typing. There we go. So notice how this looks the exact same as this. That's what we're going for. That's exactly what we want, because this is a lot easier to print than printing it right from NoodleTools. So I'm going to show you a second way to do this other than using your Tab key. So I press Enter. It creates my new Roman numeral for me. You can go up to this drop down arrow here, guys, and you can click the down arrow, go down to Change List Level, and then just click whichever one you want to create. So then it just does it for us. That's a manual way to do it if you don't want to use your Tab button. So there we go. I'm just going to type in the same stuff for you again here. And there we go. So I click Enter, and I'm going to go back up here. There we go. I'm going to change the level again so that I can type in my note cards. There we go. So now that I've done my positive effects, I'm going to do my negative effects. So I press Enter again. Oh, but it creates another one of these as if I'm going to create another note card, which I'm not going to do. So now you have two options again. Just like how we can click Tab, or we can go up here to move forward, we can do the same thing for moving backwards. Only now instead of clicking Tab, you're going to hold down Shift, and then you're going to hit Tab, so then it goes back. So if you click Tab, it goes forward. If you hold Shift and click Tab, it goes backwards. Okay? You can do it manually as well, like I already showed you how to do. Instead of going down one, though, you're just going to go back up one. And there we go. So now I can just type in my negative effects. So that's really all there is to it, guys, as far as getting your final outline from NoodleTools onto a Word document. The key here, though, is that once we are finished with our final outline, that it looks something like this. It needs to look very nice. It needs to look polished. It needs to be organized. It needs to be easy to read. Whereas if I go onto an outline and I see that, this part is, actually all the way over here, and then my note cards are all the way over here, that's not going to fly. They all need to look like this. It needs to be my heading, my subpoint, and then my note cards. So let's review real quick here. We need at least 2 subpoints per heading. We need at least 2 note cards per subpoint. And the step-by-step process that I kind of laid out here for you is the first thing you should do is read your note cards and decide what you want your subpoints to be. Then you need to create your outline on NoodleTools if you have not done so already. And then after that, you need to transfer it onto Word and print it for me. This is not going to take just one day. We're going to take a few days with this. We're going to take our time with it, because unfortunately what's going to happen is that while we are going through, we are going to realize that, yes, I may have created a subpoint for history, but what if you only have one note card that fits under that subpoint? That tells you that you don't have enough data to support that subpoint. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go back into your sources, and you're going to need to do some further research. You may need to find new sources, but you need to do further research, and you need to create a new piece of data so that we have at least 2 under each subpoint. Okay? So really that's all there is to it, guys. Like I said, we're going to spend a couple days doing this. I'll be around to answer any questions you may have. Hopefully this kind of gave you a pretty good idea of what the outline process looks like. Make sure you take this seriously because, like I said, this outline is going to help us a lot when it comes to writing our actual papers, which is going to be a big part of this process, okay? So that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, just let me know.